Okay, there we are. Okay, in the name of Allah, the Compassionate, the Merciful. This is your brother Abdul Wadu, aka Quest Man, of Soul Journey of Life. Today or tonight, or whatever time it is where you are, I'd like to have a discussion. As you see from the title, so what does it all mean? And what I'm talking about is the things that are going on that are prevalent in our time. Um, if if any of us have been paying attention and haven't been sleeping under a rock somewhere, you will see that a lot of contradicting events have been taking place in our life, in our time. Give me a second here. So I want to make sure that my voice is being heard. Okay. Okay, good. So there we go. Let me go ahead and mute that. All right, family. So today or tonight, like I said, first of all, let me begin by greeting the family. Salam alaikum, shalom, hotep, peace be with you. Welcome. Invite, share, and get this out there so that other people can benefit from the conversation to be had. I'm going to put a link in the chat. I'm going to put a link there because I would like to invite people to have this discussion. Again, this discussion is about the prevailing, the apparent contradictions that are going on in our time. Let me break that down for you. For example, when you live in a system that many of us are already aware that racism is alive and thriving and rampant. It's not an illusion for most of us. You understand? But there's still, a party of us who believes that this doesn't exist. They live in, some form of psychological delusionment. Okay, but for those that understand, those that know, those that are aware, we can clearly see that there are, you know, straightforward contradictions in, the status quo in the power, based upon from the powers that be. There are clear contradictions. So I want to be able to talk about this. Where you can get a young, white boy who can be cleared of all charges of wrongdoing. So that includes, possessing an illegal firearm. That includes taking that firearm to a whole entire different state. That includes many other factors that have been talked about across the social media platforms. You can look it up and find it out, if you want. But these are some of the things we're dealing with. And what does that mean for the thing about when courts, give a ruling, you understand, in this country, um sometimes they become retroactive. Sometimes they override another ruling. Different things happen when people are taken to trial, and their trial has factors in it that can affect everyone else in society. So what does it mean? You understand? What does this mean? Is this um are we to take that from this? Any young boy, age 17, can carry their firearms from one state to another, illegally purchased, you understand, and shoot down innocent people protesting? Is this what the establishment is saying? I'm just asking questions, that's all. Now, in the meantime, we have someone, coming as a protester to another state, a brother, you understand, to support another person who's wrongfully incarcerated, and he gets arrested. Not to mention that you've got a brother who's incarcerated. Both this one's incarcerated too, but you got another brother who's also incarcerated solely for trying to defend his life, perhaps. You understand? As a black man, you understand, in a country where you don't know if your encounter with those whose occupation was supposed to be to preserve to serve and protect society. Instead, you got to worry about whether or not they're going to take your life if you happen to be a black person. So in response to that, what do you do? What does it all mean? Or if you stand up and speak out, you understand, if you stand up and speak out, because you see these injustices happening, you see people being hung that look like you, and being claimed that this is somehow suicide, when the person that's involved had no inclination whatsoever to commit any suicide. When a person can be a mother, you understand, who can be murdered in the presence of her children, when a person could be a father who trying to make sure that he's legal, make sure that the person who's questioning him knows that he has weaponry, but instead he loses his life in the effort, you understand, in the presence of his wife and children. But a young 17-year-old person who happens to not be black, you understand, can illegally purchase an arm, take it from one state to another, and shoot innocent protesters who pose no threat to said individual. What does it all mean? I'm going to put a link in here in this chat because I would like us to be able to talk about this and break bread. Now, mind you, this is Soul Journey of Life. That being said, any type of conversations that would be entertained here would be those that are contemplative, thoughtful, not belittling, not shaming, not what I want to say, immature. You understand? Here we like to have an intellectual conversation. Adults are talking here. So here you'll see in the chat link here. I'm going to put the invite to the live stream, and those watching, if you feel you have something insightful to add to this discussion, any expertise of any sort, you're definitely welcome to come in on this live and help break this down. What is going on? You understand what's really going on? Now, I'm saying this as a question to the minds who may not be hip to the times, who may not be aware of what's happening. You understand? Some people are really naive. Some people are, in a sense, living under a rock. Many of us, we believe ourselves to be conscious. We believe ourselves to be aware, enlightened. We've got it all figured out. But what about those of us who don't? What about those who are trying to piece this together? What do we say to them? What kind of conversation do you say to them? The other thing is regarding the nature of, are we, there was a person who had a conversation on one of these lives who said that, who called in and said that we have lost, to take an L, who called into another person's live. He said, well, we've lost. You understand? Go ahead and accept your L. So I'm asking, have we lost? Is this a lost cause? Is this hopeless? I'm looking at our current state. I'm looking at there are gradual elements that are unifying, but I'm also looking at a massive number of people who are either divided, asleep, or positioning themselves in a way where they quote unquote have nothing to do with this. This has nothing to do with them. Peace and blessings, brother Gary. Welcome. So again, I believe I have a justifiable concern. I know that often we have conversations that people just don't have the heart to entertain. you know the conditions of our black children, things like that. It seems like at least not a significant number of people were finding this a plausible conversation to entertain. They'd rather look for the drama that other platforms present, that chop down and assassinate the characters of others. They'd rather participate in that for 5 hours. You understand? But to have an intellectual conversation, you understand, about the factors that matter to the black community, the elements, the very key pieces that would help unify us together, is not insightful enough. It's not inciting enough to grab the attention of many of the viewers that cross the YouTube platform. So you see the link there. You see the link there. The link is to invite any would be commentator to this live, in order to have a discussion about what does it all mean. You understand? I understand some of us were religious, so we have a religious concept of what it all means. You understand? We have a religious perspective. Some of us may not be so religious, or may see some other factors that give a more defined interpretation of what they're seeing. You understand? What are you seeing? What does it mean? And where does the black community take this? What can we say here on a live social media platform that um that is careful enough to reach those ears that need to hear, while at the same time being mindful of the importance of staying on code? You understand? What can we say here? What can we talk about here? What can we break down here to express what this means with what we've been experiencing? You understand? Like I said, what where do you take it when those who are speaking up and standing up, speaking out and standing up, are silenced? Bogus charges are painted upon them so that they can't speak in the same way. Where do you take it? Where do we go from here? Now, here's the thing I'll suggest. There was a time when there wasn't anything called social media. So what did people do then? Before there was social media, how did we communicate? Another thing to keep in mind is that, with the advancement of technology, with the advancement of, the different forms of surveillance and things like that, we've got our hands full. How do you deal with an opponent who gives the appearance of having access to every possible resource with which to hem you up, with which to subdue you, with which to subject you and keep you down? Notice I said the appearance of. Shalom, dear sister. Welcome. A definite blessing to have you present here in this live. So again, we have our hands full. We have our hands full with, where do we go from here? What parts do we play now? A what are realistic solutions, you understand, to where this is going? Because a lot of doors have been opened as a result of some of the events that have taken place, and some of the things that are still going on. You still got I have yet to hear uh the continuation of the trial going on regarding brother Ahmad Arbery. Okay, so we still have that going on. Also, I'm going to put in this live feed here. Let's see if I can make sure I get you the right information. Um, I want to make sure, because the other night I participated in a live. I was invited to participate in a live where, let's see here. I want to make sure that I have the right information. Anyway, I participated in the live to help try to raise funds for brother Otha Wallace, aka Ozone. So I'm going to put that link in here just to kind of put that in the faces of any would-be viewers, just to keep that up there, so that way something to think about if you care about putting any charity down. Um, I don't have any any accounts or whatnot regarding the matter, but our brother OC the Great does. So I'm going to put up the link that he has been promoting, so that way if you feel up to the task, you can donate. Um, I do also have a donation mission as well, not pertaining to brother Otha Wallace, but this is more local. Is dealing with um, hold on a second here. Let me write this down. Put this down here. Is dealing with the homeless here locally in Cleveland, Ohio. Um, I'll explain that here in just a second. Let me see here. I just want to make sure I type this right so that there's no typos. So this is OC the Great's Cash App link, and this is for. I guess I got to put that too, don't I? For anybody who wishes to support Brother Otha Wallace, aka Ozone, aka Ozone. I'm gonna just type that in here. Go. That way you have that there. So if you care about the effort of supporting Brother Ozone, there's your link right there. Um, let's see here. I'm not sure. Also, I'm just going to put the titles in. I'm not going to put the links in for this, but here is the GoFundMe for what I'm actually doing myself, as far as my mission is concerned. If you go to the GoFundMe, let me see if I can laptop, so it's a little slower than my PC. I'm doing some repairs on the PC right now, so bear with me if you don't mind. Um, let's see here. So I'm just putting these things up here so that way, like I said, they're in your face because like I said, I'm a part of those who try to uplift the cause and motivate the cause, of the people, the participants of the cause to do what we need to do. You understand? Um, all right. So here's this, like I said, this Cover a Brother campaign. This is a local charity drive to try to raise funds to purchase sleeping bags or whatnot. You understand? Not no cheap sleeping bag, but something that can be of a benefit, to the homeless here in Cleveland, Ohio. So we've got that. Um, Also, I'm going to put it in the chat here too, because there's no shame in my game, right? So here we have. And look that up on GoFundMe also. So these are just some of the drives that are going on. You understand, in the black community. I think there's one more that I could put up. Because see, I represent, my people. That's so I don't have like, I'm only with this group of people or only with, only supporting this one or this one. You understand? If you're about the cause, you got my support, plain and simple. If you stand up, um, for the cause of the people, you understand? Our unification and so on, you got my support. That's all. That's the bottom line for me. I don't get in between all the riffraff. I don't get into to the the mischief and all that. Give me a second here. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. I just wanted to make sure I had the right spelling of this. We got one more. Let me type this right. This is a Cash App also. Let me make sure I got it right. EASH. Okay. So just one more time. I like to, double check. Yep, I got it right. Okay. So this was brother Sprite, right? Brother Spite, aka Kente Thomas, who's also incarcerated. This is a brother who was on his way, you understand, to to demonstrate and to stand up, for his brother. This is a soldier. This is what you do when you're really about the cause. You come to the aid of your brother and sister when they're in times of need. You understand? We don't just talk about it, but we show up. And that's what Brother Spike did. He was prepared to show up and speak his mind. And, of course, the powers that be had an issue with that. So these are the links that you see right here of Cash Apps and GoFundMe's. You understand? And every time if I get a new one or something that's going on, of course I'm gonna keep on shouting them out. That's what I do. That's what Questman does, right? Also, by the way, I was talking on an IG earlier today, and something came to my mind when it comes to it's just I don't know, it's just the way this meaning came out to be. I'm gonna read this to you. Um be, you know, I've had this alias Questman since I was about 12 years old. You understand? When I started, grabbing mics and dropping rhymes and whatnot, you understand, back in the day, we had a crew called Choices Unlimited. And it was me, Questman, Homeboy Ragged Man, damn one. That was his alias. We had Omega, who ended up passing away with what do you call that? Diabetes. Um, and we just had that was our hip hop crew. You understand? And so I was like, well, I've got a lot of. At first, I was trying to go by a question man because I was like, well, I'm always, I'm the one always asking these questions. You know what I mean? And like, what, why? I'm always asking questions because I'm gonna need to know. You understand? I'm trying to, put two and two together. I don't just take everything for granted. You can't just tell me something and I'm like, oh, okay, is that way? No, I have questions. So I shortened that to Quest Man, during those days. I was like, well, Quest Man. But I came to look up, I was doing some research on that, just that configuration, Quest Man, and some of the things that came out. The meaning of Quest Man is one legally empowered to solicit arms, specifically a side man. Then another one says one who is legally empowered to look into certain matters, especially abuses of weights and measures. It's deep, man. It's deep when you understand that this is what I do in a very metaphorical sense, family. You understand? I'm looking into the heart of the beast. You understand? Many people they get all into this other stuff. I ain't worried. I'm looking at this enemy right here. You know what I mean? I'm looking at this enemy eye to eye. I'm looking at the heart of the beast and exposing any and everything that I find. You understand? Arming my people with the proper knowledge so they understand, how they need to operate, how they need to flow. Yes, indeed. So, that's anyway. That's the meaning of quest, man, family. And there's more. It just goes on and on like that. Just different, variations of saying that same thing. Quest man. But I'll tell you the meaning that I had when I first called myself Quest man was basically, it's like my life is a journey. You understand? And everywhere I go, I'm seeing things that bring up more questions than answers. And I always say that everybody seems like they got the answers, but nobody's got the proper questions. You understand? They've all got, I know, I know, I know. I know. But I'm like, wait a minute, everybody knows something, but they don't have the questions. You understand? So it makes me wonder, where the heck all these know-it-alls, are getting their information from. And in many cases, they don't have anything to back it up with. You understand? When you ask them, when you start asking the questions, they get tongue-tied on you. So anyway, that's where it came from for me. Y'all see in the link here. I'm gonna put it in the chat here again. We gotta talk about this. We got to talk about this. I mean, I don't see how family can let this stuff go under the radar like that. White boy gets cleared of all charges, all kinds of illegal activity going on. You understand? I mean, they just I've seen people run down, you know, the illegal elements that were literally just basically by that the judge is like up, like he didn't just pretend like he didn't see it, whatever the case is. But we all know what the deal is. Those who know, like I said, we know. So what does it all mean? What does it all mean? We got to talk about this. I mean, otherwise, am I to assume that nobody has any input, any insight? You understand? Like I said, this is a conscious social media platform, so I'm here to bump heads. Brainstorm. You understand? Sometimes when you brainstorm, when you dig in the earth, you find diamonds. You understand? Sometimes that happens that way. You dig in the earth, you find diamonds. So I'm trying to figure out what diamonds we can pass on to our people. Things to keep them hip to the game, keep them conscious of what's really going on. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Right here. You understand? That's what the backdrop's about. There's light at the end of the tunnel. It's not a hopeless. It's not a hopeless situation. But how many of us are willing to make a move towards that light? How many of us are going to either stay where we are, accept things as they are, or go towards that light? Because the thing about that light, the thing about coming out the other end of a tunnel is it's a whole new area, a whole new, aspect of existence. How many of us are ready to return to our roots? I'm telling you, I'm saying if we were able to restore who we are as a people, and we are able to, we just don't realize it yet. If we were able to, Shalom, the Black Messiah, I see you up in here. If we were able to restore ourselves back to our roots, back to our cultures, our customs, back to, you know, manifesting the glory that we once did manifest, are we ready for that? What would you do? Where would we take it? I often ask, if we were left alone, how would our people, in what ways would our people have advanced? We know that we're the artistic ones on the earth. We know we're the talent. We know, 99% of your inventions, somehow find its way coming to our minds. We know we're the inspiration of the world. They can't even rock. They can't even dance without imitating our dance. Like I said, you can't go anywhere without seeing. You can go to Bangladesh or somewhere, and some little child is rocking a Kobe Bryant T-shirt or a Tupac T-shirt. All that does is tell you that our effects are all over the globe. So if we were left alone, what kind of a world would we be in right now? But since we aren't left alone, because this is the reality check part, we haven't been left alone. We've been under the knee, under the foot, in the chokehold. You understand? Of a ginormous beast. You understand? That's caused us to behave in a way that's not like us. That's caused us to see ourselves in a way that's not like us, that's caused us to treat each other in a way that's not like us. This is what's happened to us. Many of us won't even move. We won't do nothing. It's like a deer in the headlight. When a deer's in the headlight, he's too afraid to do anything. So he just stands still. Many of us have turned to that. You understand? Seeing murder, cold-blooded murder happen before our very eyes by the same oppressive regime, the same oppressive system, the same oppressive powers that be that many of our ancestors had been enslaved by. And people just look and just look on. Some even have the nerve to say, doesn't have anything to do with me. Oh, slavery. I don't know. I don't see no racism. Oh, racism. What racism? Yeah, I know. I know. I mean, if a person comes to this live, this is what they're going to hear. Like I said, I don't, whether or not it's entertaining, that's another matter. But on one level, in this aspect, I'm not here for the entertainment. I rock some joints every now and then, drop a few rhymes. Then that's for the entertainment. But in a sense, it's not. Even if I drop some rhymes, it's not for your entertainment alone. It's just following the spirit of my ancestors. But the spirit of our ancestors was the spirit of rhythm. So even if we had a story to tell, even if we had some powerful gems to pass along, we did it with rhythm. You understand? We did it in prose and poetry and in art. You understand? In dance and movement. That was our way. So it wasn't just for entertainment. People would dance just to get married back in those days. They would dance to, just to hype themselves up for war. You understand? They would dance just to condition themselves with the art of fighting, the art of combat. We're people of rhythm. This is us. This is us. This is us. I know we see these guys, these folks, these beast ones bite us every time they bite our style, bite our ways, try to say it's theirs. But what does it all mean? What does it all mean for a 17-year-old boy to have committed so many illegal elements that if any other person, if someone that looked like me or you would have done the same thing, mind you, I'd have to, become younger again. But if a 17-year-old me, I'm just asking, if a 17-year-old Quest man were to have done the same thing, tell me honestly, what do you think would have happened? Would I even have made it to the courtroom alive? And even if I made it to the courtroom, what kind of verdict do you think I would have received? All things being the same. All things being the same. What would the verdict have been? I'm just asking, what does it all mean? Anybody want to come into and there's the link is there. Do I need to tag it or something? Put it on the pin it. The link is there, family. So there we go. Come on in here. Let's talk about this. Let's break bread. Let's break bread. When I say shalom, when I say salam, when I say peace, you know, I'm trying to break bread with the jam on it. You understand? Yeah, you're right. I would, man, I'm telling you, I wouldn't even have made it. I wouldn't have even been able to gotten the AK out of my pack up. You got to understand. Let's remind you that this individual walked past, you know, a group of police before he even got to the place. They say what he walked past some police. And then once he did his deed, he walked back and went back, and they nodded and everything. Man, I'm trying to tell you, the minute the minute I stepped my boot on the scene, they would have known that I was there. They would have paid all kinds of attention to me. They might even would have questioned me, pat me down, shake me down, whatever, before I could even thought to get the weapon out of the bag or whatever it was in. Not to mention, in a situation like this, I would have been hemmed up. My mother would have been hemmed up for helping me get the weapon. And anybody else associated, they would have all been anybody that they would have found being associated with me in the matter would have all been in that trial. So I would have been dead, but they would have been going to jail. So what does it all mean, man? What does it all mean? Where are we at? Anybody want to take on this live? Talk to me. It's hard to get folks to talk. I had a live the other day, like I said, talking about, the importance of black children, importance of our black children in the movement. You understand? That was the nature of the talk. Got one brother to come out of the crowd to chop it up with a brother. But time for the bickering and the silliness. We just don't. When a young 17-year-old boy who happens to be the likeness of the powers that be can go home after taking the life or injuring or whatever the case, can go home, all charges being dropped. What is that saying now? What was the message that judge had for us? There was a message that community had for us as black people. What was the message? What was the bottom line message? When all kinds of illegal elements were just completely whole scale disregarded, not guilty on all counts. What's the message to the black community from that? Here comes this is the Black Messiah coming in. Right,
Hi, this is Sister Boom again. How
Sister
you doing?
Boom. All right, peace and blessings. I'm doing well. Welcome.
Thank you. Or can you hear me?
Yes, indeed. I can hear you loud and clear,
Fantastic.
all in my ear. Yes,
Dealing with
indeed.
the echoes. I don't want to be negative, but it means that we're still slaves, and I
Yes.
want I want some of us feel free. Not every black person in 16, 19, 18, 15 were actually slaves, but most of us are treated like slaves, and they should have deported us in 1865. They kept us around to continue to abuse us.
Yeah.
And I believe that the only way we would have gotten out of this situation is for our ancestors, as they call it. My mother was a sharecropper for the first 10 years of her life, so it
Mm.
doesn't go that far back. Suicide or homicide. And I
Can
do
you
not
can you
judge my ancestors. Excuse me, I'm looking at your lips, so I have an echo. I do not judge my ancestors. The only thing that would have gotten us out of this situation is to kill ourselves or to homicide.
mm,
I'm not going to kill myself or to kill anybody else.
mm,
That is how desperate it is. We are slaves.
mm,
I don't feel like a slave. I think white supremacy is completely backwards, nonsensical. No way that's possible. But we're experiencing what our people did, and these monsters should have let us go in 1865. They kept us around to continue to annihilate us, mind, body, and soul.
Mm, heavy, heavy. And I definitely have to agree with you. Can you break down for the viewers what a sharecropper is?
Yes, sir. My mother was born in Lambert, Mississippi, which is in the Delta, near Clarksdale, Mississippi, if you know where that's at. And that's basically being a slave. You're picking cotton on a
Mm.
plantation or some white man's land, and you're just picking it enough of it so that you have a place to live,
I'm a-
basically.
I'm asking that question for a few reasons. Among the reasons is there's a party of us. Now I know some of us are indeed descendants of the land called America, but there's a group of people who don't believe that there are a party of us who were in fact enslaved from Africa and brought over the Atlantic, and as a result of being here, we ended up being involved in the likes of what you mentioned, sharecropping and so on. What can you tell us about? You say your grandmother,
My mother was
your
born
mother.
a sharecropper, which her mother was obviously, well, her mother was a sharecropper as
Yes.
well.
So so basically, you could say as far back from that point, that your ancestors that were here were among the enslaved.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and this same enslaved that was brought over here across the Atlantic.
I would imagine. Are you asking me if I consider myself ADOS and a descendant of the African slaves?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we picked cotton, and before that, we were. My mother picked cotton. Her mother picked cotton. Allegedly, my great grandmother, who I did see, I saw both of them on both sides of my family. The one on my mother's side of the family had Indian in her,
Hmm.
stereotypical history that would be Choctaw. And
Okay.
yeah, I believe we're slaves.
So your ancestors, do you know what your ancestry in Africa was, like the tribes that were there that you came
I
from?
no, I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I was married to an African, dated African. I looked
Mm,
African, and I would be afraid to get my DNA done because if it
yeah.
doesn't come back 98% sub-Saharan African, I would be depressed and
Hmm.
disappointed. So I haven't gotten it done.
Well, I did. And just real quick, I was actually rather impressed because it was already I already kind of had a notion of my ancestry. So it's very complex, but suffice it to say, um, you know, the people that live in Nigeria today, and the people that live in Sierra Leone are much related to me, or I'm much related to them, or however you want to put that. But there's also a party of people that came from Portugal. You understand? And I still wonder about that. Not because I assume that they were Caucasian, because I know that at that time that these traces are attributed to, Portugal was occupied by a group of people called Moors. You understand?
Okay, and you know that Portugal were the first white or European slave traders that
Yeah.
brought
So
you
it's
to
it's that's
Brazil.
that's yeah, exactly. And that's where my conflict lies, is because I'm dealing with time periods. There's the notion that there's possibly some white bum that had found my ancestral grandmother, because this is on my mother's side that this is the case. You understand?
Okay,
On my mother's side, I'm Timne, which is the name of a people in Sierra that's in today. They live in Sierra Leone today.
okay.
Timne. Okay. But in addition, there's also, like I said, there's remnants of this Portuguese. You
Sure.
understand?
So if you had a remnant of Spanish or a remnant of English, it wouldn't be any different. Are you fascinated that your slave owner was Portuguese and not British?
Mm, that's not my fascination. My fascination is always on my own, my own people.
Okay.
That part is actually my. I don't want to call it a shame, or a it's like a bad taste. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth. You understand? To know that someone in my ancestry had to suffer these people. You understand? That someone had to suffer these people, but that be what it be. And now here we are today, and as you put it. You understand? All the elements manifest that in our time we are still suffering the results of enslavement. And I've said this before, and I've even challenged people locally. I've asked people, are we still enslaved? And they would say, no, we're not enslaved. We're free. I said, how so? I said, are you able? Do you have the ability for self determination, or are you being ruled by the descendants of the same people who enslaved our ancestors? Because if you're still being ruled by the same people who enslaved our ancestors, how can you say you're free? Where's the freedom at? Where freedom is, okay, I let you go. You're now no longer my slave. So whatever you were prior to me enslaving you, you can return back to that or whatever. Do you? You're free of me, right? Am I correct?
Right, we're not free of them. That would mean that they took us back to where they got us,
Mm.
and
Or
in
something,
1860,
restoration of some sort, right?
absolutely. In 1865, there was plenty of places in the world for them to drop us off and say, get out of here, take care of yourself. You have smarts amongst you. Frederick Douglass was free. They would have said, just get out. Their
Yeah.
plan, this is my intuition, is that no, we're not done abusing you. So you see what they did to us after 1865. They're just recently taking the last thing from us that they can take, and it may be organs now, maybe your
Mm.
sperm. They're going
Right.
to use us until we have absolutely no purpose. I believe that if white people went back to Europe and took me back to Africa, Asians went back to Asia, we would not have a World War III. Native Americans, this is getting off subject. The Native Americans, the Guatemalans that'll stay, didn't do anything to anybody. There's a bomb coming here. You see,
Yeah.
we're collateral damage.
I
I don't
believe what you're
deserve to be
saying.
here.
I believe what you're saying is on subject because it gives us background. It gives us um it paints the picture clear of how we got to the point that we are today. How it is that, like I said, to me, that all is tied together with how you can get a 17-year-old to have all kinds of illegal things that he's done to be completely cleared before all eyes to see. To go
Well, do
home,
you?
hug his mom, happily ever after.
Well, I was listening. I follow the Israelites, and I don't know if you've heard this yet, but it's gonna make sense to you. He got off because he killed an N-word lover, and you don't N-word lovers have to go. That's
Yeah,
Civil War
yeah,
two.
yeah.
That's who's gonna fight. That's Civil War two. A bunch of N-word lovers. They will be killed by white supremacy.
Mm,
That was an example. Don't stick up for black people. If it was a women's rights, if it was Women's Day rally and some white feminist men showed up, they wouldn't have been shot. The
mm,
N-word lovers got killed.
mm.
You know
So
what I mean?
I see something. I see someone in the live here. I'm just asking questions here. He says, "Don't get the shot." I'm assuming you're referring to that jab, right? It will make you unable to have kids. Please explain. Please explain. Break bread. We're here to break bread. Let me know what you mean. What you're talking about. Because it's easy for us to say these things, but there's individuals out there dropping hard knowledge. You understand? When like one like with all due respect, Brother RZA breaks that down. He provides insight. He provides information about why he's speaking out against the jab. So what I'm asking, if we put the commentary there, break bread with us. You understand? Give us an understanding so we can understand why this is so. Because in many cases, many of us out here are so informed, it's pathetic. It's pitiful. So uninformed. You understand? That is pitiful. So what I'm asking is that we break bread so that we can somehow be as close to being on the same page as possible. You understand? There's a crisis going on. I don't like the sound. I don't like the sound of disparity, but it's like we're right at the border of it. And I don't like disparity because I'm one of those who believe in um a divine outcome. I'm not talking about no hocus pocus type stuff, but I believe that ultimately things will turn in our favor because that's the way the nature goes. You understand? When something is oppressed so much, it finds a way to come out of it. You understand?
Okay.
So because it's like this, if you boil something for so long, for soaps to certain extreme temperatures, it it goes to its opposite. You understand? If something gets you ever been so cold that, what do they say for you to do when you want to go inside, and what temperature of water do they say to use to warm up with?
Something the same temperature as your body?
If you come outside and your hands are all cold and like, oh, you're just freezing, you feel like your fingers are numb and everything. They go inside and say what temperature of water to use. They
I
tell you
don't know what temperature. What is it?
they tell you use cold water.
Okay.
And when you use the cold water, you actually feel your fingers warming up.
Alrighty.
The irony, right? So, you know, I'm just saying that things. There's a saying. Um, while I embrace my Hebrew brothers, my actual criteria is Quran. Right, in the Quran it says, "Fa'inna ma'al usri yusra, inna ma'al usri yusra." So verily, after difficulty comes ease. After difficulty comes ease. And if you take that scientifically, because that's how I take it, it means that when something reaches a certain point, it has to come to its opposite.
What
You
is the
understand?
opposite? What is our opposite?
Well, it's just like night and day. That's what we have to gather. Our opposite is going to end up being the effects of being compelled to unify. And this isn't for everybody. It's not. See, this isn't everybody's going to just pop up and get along like robots and we all dance and we're all unified.
Do
First
you
of all,
really
peace and
believe, like, that's not a sarcastic tone of voice, but do you really believe every person that is demographically African American or black could possibly come together and do something lofty, like defeat white
here's what I think.
supremacy?
Before I answer that question, let me say shalom to the D Maria. I see you in here. Lorraine, peace and blessings. Welcome. To answer that question, I'm optimistic, but at the same time, I strive to be realistic. You understand? I don't believe that we're all going to unify. No, I don't. I do believe that based upon the logic of understanding resources, understanding economy, understanding that nothing can go on perpetually forever the same way, because you end up exhausting the resources that keep it going. You understand? You exhaust the resources, so eventually somebody will have to tap out, and that being the people who depend on the heaviest of resources. For example, most of your biggest industry, like I said, it may not be in our time, but it's going to be sometime. Your biggest industries in this land thrive off of fossil fuel, thrive off of all these types of organic energy sources, right?
Yes.
Okay, we know that that's not infinite. That it becomes exhausted.
Yes.
Eventually, that becomes exhausted. We also know that they're not natural to the environments of where the sun shines the greatest. We are, fortunately, we are. So we don't have the problem of being near any area where the sun's radiation or the sun's rays are prominent. Um, but they have to find other places to live in order to be able to exist, or they have to alter their environment for them to be able to exist a certain way. The point is that everything that they would require to do, that they would need to do, requires an economy for it. You understand? If you look at the three great nations that are existing right now, you will hear, if you pay attention, that a lot of their economic resources are exhausting. You understand? So
Absolutely.
they're chiding each other because of the type of resources that they need from each other. You understand? They're exhausting. If you think about it, why would they be interested in um celestial in cosmic uh, 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 um travel and whatnot?
Okay, I understand. What does that have to do with me and my people? 15. I have 15 people. What does that have to do
Okay,
with
now
us not
let me
having
get.
any power. Okay,
I'm
go
glad you
ahead.
mentioned that because I gave you a macro. Now let's. What you're asking for is the micro, the our ground level, so to speak. In our time, in our level, you know, every movement that's ever existed on the face of this earth that overtook another nation or another party of people started off as a small inspired body. You understand? And in many cases, when did it begin? It started when the present system was decaying. If you look in the Ottoman history, if you look in some of the empires of North Africa, you understand, you find that they were overtaken by a smaller body at the time of their decline, because the smaller body started to gain not only the resources but the inspiration from the people or the motivation of the people. You understand, so that they were right where they needed to be. You understand? If you look in the time of there's an empire called the Abbasid Empire, and this is an example that I like actually. The Abbasid Empire was raised out of another empire called the Umayyad. The Umayyad started. They came off when they came into existence. They were upright people. They were doing good things. But some of the rulers started to flip the script, and become corrupt. Right. Well, in that, the Abbasi started to gain the favor of the people. I'm talking about the individuals that represented that party. They started to gain the favor of the people locally around their area. And by the time the Abbasi knew um, or got wind of some of the agenda of the time the Umayyad got wind of some of the Abbasi's you know aims, it was too late, because one, their resources was already exhausted. They didn't have a strong economy anymore, and they didn't have the proper resources with which to allocate to deal with the rising of the Abbasid Empire. And by that time, like I said, it was too late, and the Abbasid took over and ended up becoming the new rulers. Why am I saying this? You know, a person can only talk tough for so long, and the same goes for a nation. The same goes for a government. At some point, you understand, the the flames of conflict have to come. So take for example, and this is just shooting out with what we see going on in the media, in the mainstream media, and things like that with countries abroad. You've got Taiwan, right? You've got Taiwan. What does China say about Taiwan? That this is
China
ours.
says keep your hands off of Taiwan.
Yeah. What does U.S. say about Taiwan?
Well, recently last I heard, they're backing off. But
Hmm.
last month they were trying to support them, and they got all kind of military over there.
Yeah. Okay. So now here's the thing about warfare. When you come to a gunfight, they always say if you draw your gun, you better use it, right? Because if you
Right.
don't draw your gun, then you expose your hand, and the other person becomes the victor. The other person becomes the one who wins the fight, even if no blood was shed. If you come, if the person is talking all this smack and they're saying, "Meet me in the alley," and the opponent's in the alley, he's there, he's waiting around. Like, what the heck going? Where's the brother at? But you don't show up. Who wins the fight? The one who showed
Okay.
up.
Well,
You
let
understand?
me let me get my 2 cents in. And again, this is maybe off subject. This is what I hear you setting yourself up for, but you're probably not gonna know. If America is falling, we know it is.
Hmm.
If I want to boast and brag about white people not being superior, which I haven't thought they were superior in a long time, and you brought
Right.
up Taiwan,
Yeah.
it's not black people that is going to overthrow the white American government. We're not.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to. So I would like to wear a shirt of South of the Viet Cong. I would like to wear a shirt that talked about North Korea
Yes.
or the Japanese, the ferocious Japanese fighters. They needed to bomb them twice. They after the first nuke, they weren't ready to give up. They had to bomb them twice.
What did
But
Muhammad Ali say
I don't know, what did Muhammad Ali say.
when he was asked about participating in the Vietnam War?
Oh yeah, they're
What
not.
did he?
He said nobody over there ever called me a nigger.
Okay, I'm saying I asked that for a reason. See, I'm not saying that we're overthrowing anything. This isn't about overthrowing anything. This is about understanding that the enemy will be taken care of. It's inevitable. Not because of us, not because of anything we do. We don't, in fact, all we have to do is what we keep on doing. You understand? Do you, do me. All we have to keep on doing is doing what we're doing. Those who are going to unify are going to unify, those who aren't. But the way this globe operates, you understand, the inevitable must happen. You understand? You can't, like I said, a bully can't make a claim and then not show up to the fight. If he does that, he loses the fight and the points go to the other team. You understand what I'm saying? That's just the way conflict works. You understand? And the problem with that is the morale of the loser begins to dwindle. Every time the time for conflict shows up and the challenger backs out, their morale goes down. You're also talking about not just the morale as in the scholastic sense, but like I said, you're dealing with economy. You're dealing with so many factors that all have to play. They all have to work out together. You understand? Uh, they all have to succeed. When you're dealing with a system, just like your human body, everything in your human body has to work right for you to be what? Healthy. So the same thing goes with an established government. Everything has to work right. And the minute one thing goes wrong, the minute significant things go wrong, it starts to increase. And it gets bigger and bigger. Just like the body. When something goes wrong, something critical goes wrong, you know, eventually your body is going to suffer and you'll die. You understand? This is just the way the natural or divine law operates. Nothing can keep going on and on a certain way without the proper resources. And the resources don't exist that support what this establishment is trying to do.
Okay, Babylon is falling, and communists are going to take over capitalism, and that's I agree. I think I hear what you're saying, and the white elites are afraid. That's why they want to build a colony in Spain. I mean, on Mars.
Hmm.
I don't know that, and so that's why I want a $450,000 reparations check, so I
Mm.
can go somewhere that's not going to get nuked or to be threatened with nukes, and the system is collapsing. But that doesn't. I don't think that has anything to do with that. These devils are going to continue to punish me while they get their butts whipped. Mine is going to get whipped too.
That's only see. Okay, there's several ways that this can work, and this is why I agree with those who keep talking about finding portions of land in Africa or finding portions of land in the southwestern parts of the states, because timing and place is everything in this situation. You understand? You're talking about them continuing to oppress. In most cases, if you know if you're in, you ever heard the saying "out of sight, out of mind"?
Of
That
course.
plays a part. Also, being in someone's way plays a part. They believe they have a way, so let's get out of their way. Let's find ourselves some way somewhere else. You understand? Where we are migrating, where we are most what dense, right? Where there are more of us as a people, as a populace. Okay, because 9 times out of 10, they're not likely to be there in the same environment. What I'm saying here is, it's kind of like a ball game. You've got the spectators and you got the event that's happening. You see the fight going on outside of the street, but you're not a part of the fight. The question that I'm asking is, are we the adversary of any of these would be countries that are the adversary of the establishment? Are we their adversary?
Very good question. Please let me answer it. We, if we, and I'll answer it in a couple different ways. If African descendants or the descendants of slaves were not in America, if white people went back to Europe and Asians went back to where they came from, America would not get bombed. That's number one. So
Hmm.
imagine something that could save the world happening with everybody that doesn't belong in America prior to 1492, going back to where they came from. You think that sounds impossible. It's no more impossible than building a space colony on Mars.
Mm, mm,
Okay, no, North Koreans are not checking for Sister Boom.
yeah.
The Russians are not checking for me. The Iranians used to have a preference for black people. See the hostage situation. That's fine. And here's the last thing I want to say. This is I'm gonna draw this metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a white man. Somebody's coming for his stuff. I'm in his house. He sees me as property. He grabs me in a chokehold and he's dragging me along the way when he's running for his life. He doesn't care about me. He's just not going to let me go.
Mm,
He has me by the neck as he flees for his life. I should not be anywhere around these people when they get
mm,
what they deserve. I'm collateral damage. I don't
yeah.
know what that has to do with the criminal justice system working for white men and not working for you. But this has been a good conversation.
It's I believe it's all related. I believe it's all related because it's a way to communicate. I believe that in this criminal justice system, as we're talking about, something is being communicated meant for us who are, watching this, meant for us black people. Something is there's coded words that is communicate being that's meant to communicate to us something, meant to communicate that regardless of what rules we've put down, we can do whatever we want to you and anyone that supports you. Is that the message you got to?
Oh yeah, of course, and also the irony. Two things. I don't know if you're online all day like I tend to be. Um, two things. The rapist they let go. That the young rapist they let go to probation. He can
Hmm.
rape. You can admit to raping four women, but if you're a white man and have a potential, you don't do a day of jail. They know jails. I don't know if you've ever been to jail, but it sucks. Nobody in their right mind would want to be in there for more than 24 hours.
Right.
So that, and then there was a story again on my, got my edification in today. That a black guy was sentenced to 45 years in jail for killing a police dog. I don't think they gave him the whole 45 years for killing the dog. They think I don't know what to believe, but the system will punish you if you're black as if you are a baby giraffe and a pride of lions has to kill you. You are prey. Don't get in their hands. When a black man can go to jail for 45 years for killing a dog, and a white man can admit to raping four teenagers, which is attempted murder. You've never been raped, trust me. It's like trying to kill somebody. And
Right.
he says, "Oh, I don't think you need to do in day jail." The system is not created for us. Everybody
Right.
knows that. It doesn't even hurt. It just makes me think, don't get in trouble, because you are not going to beat your case.
So let me ask you this. I got a question because you said you take on the Hebrew way, correct?
I pay attention to the what I don't know what we call ourselves or they call themselves Israelites, Hebrews, but yeah, that's what I do on Saturdays. I make sure I get all my studies in.
Okay, so first of all, let me before I continue, sister Black Queen Dija, wa alaikum salam, wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to our live. And by the way, anybody that would like to entertain this live conversation with us, you see the link right there in the chat, and I just put it there again just so that is visible. Um, I ask that because that implies that we are spiritual minded individuals, at least conscious in some way of divine interaction, or or that we're not in an existence that is absent of greater um, influence or greater what I want to say. There's a term I want to use that we're not left to our own devices to basically just face defeat. You
You're
understand?
absolutely right.
Like we're just doomed. There's no hope. It's just everybody's just throwing the towel. We're all going down. It don't matter what we do. Knee on the neck, choke hold, whatever. We're just doomed.
Well, I don't know what you mean by doomed, but I don't. I'm couldn't be any more spiritual. I have guardian
Mhm.
angels with me right now. They sleep with me, tap
Yes.
me on my shoulder when I'm having a nightmare. So I
Yes.
don't know what you mean by doom, but I'm a very spiritual person, and um, it gets better after this experience. This is hellish,
Yes.
being down here and suffering at the hands of the heathens. But I don't know what direction. There's a lot of people talking about white privilege and how disgusting this case was, and then other people are saying mind your own business, it has nothing to do with you. What I realize and what I'm going to stick with based upon my political thinking is that you can't, those n-word lovers got what they deserve,
Hmm.
and that's why Kyle walked, is because I'm white. I've never been in a room with a bunch of Klansmen. I probably wouldn't have been allowed to walk out. But they were talking about these Antifa, left wingers, Jews, Black Lives Matters,
Mm.
embarrassing us. You're not going to do that next summer, are you? You're not
Right.
going to get in the way of police killings next summer, are you?
Mm.
That's how these monsters work.
Right. Heavy.
Yeah.
That's heavy. Well, here's the thing. Being, like I said, I feel like I'm by default optimistic. Because I believe that our solution is not external. And I believe that what we're able to do that would realistically help ourselves in our times is not external, and it's not in any way focused on them at all. It's aware, is conscious of them, their presence, and what they do, and their aims, and whatnot. But I believe that our bottom line solutions are within the thick of our community itself. I'm not talking about anybody that has nothing to do with the interest of unification, self determination, things like that. I'm talking about us really forming a a cell. You understand? Like a cell, like a body cell. A cell has a membrane. It has a nucleus. It has the plasma inside. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
But it it's self-contained and is focused on the contents of itself. You understand? Being, nurtured, being, thriving, and then as a cell, it operates within the bigger or larger body. You understand?
Absolutely.
So, I think that when we look at some of these elements, it's not a waste of time, but I think it distracts us from the real solutions because it makes us fearful and despair. You understand that this is a lost cause and hopeless. But if we returned within ourselves, that's why I always say the bigger part of any kind of revolution isn't going to be, just the boots on the ground. It's going to be within the structure. We've got a lot of confused folks in our amongst our ranks that if they were properly educated, you understand, maybe things will be different. Now, here's the thing: if we're on a spiritual level, we know that there was a people among the children of Israel, a time where they were traveling in the wilderness, and part of the purpose of them traveling as they were for so long was to eradicate from their ranks the hypocrisy, the delusion. You understand? So that by the
Hmm.
time they got to the point where they were going to be established, it was a new generation of people with new minds, renewed minds. You
Yes.
understand what I'm saying? And I think that's the type of thing that might have to happen. That we have to gravitate towards ourselves, like osmosis, get rid of any elements that are contagious to us, that are poisonous to us, and focus on the factors that matter to us, that are unified. You understand? Leave the coon alone. Leave the doom alone. You understand? Whatever they're doing over there, that's on them. The coons are going to find their own fate. You understand? They're going to meet with their own fate, just like the people who didn't aboard the ark, so to speak. You understand what I'm saying?
I
I'm
understand what
using these
you're
I'm
saying.
I'm using these so-called religious or spiritual allegories to paint a bigger picture for our time. I'm not
Oh,
using them as if they were historic or not. I'm simply using them as allegories for our time. You understand? We're in a time where we simply need to get on this boat. You know a flood's coming. You know it's on its way. We need to get on this boat, and this boat is um, us unifying in a way where we become self-sustained, self-sufficient, where we become interdependent upon one another, where we restore the respect between man and woman, husband and wife, where many of us, like I said, it's too late. It's too late to teach anything. It's too late to educate them on anything. It's just too late for them. Okay, focus on those who are on the same page, and then more importantly, as I said in another live, our children, because I believe that our solution ultimately is going to be through their generation. Our time is a wrap. You understand? The most we could do in our time is pass down the proper information to our children and get them
Okay.
as strong intellectually as possible that we can. What we can do in our time, if we feel that there's something we could do, it's moving and locating ourselves to where we're amongst ourselves. Get get away from anything that's foreign, anything that's corruptive, the coon, the hypocrite, the racist, the supremacist. Get away from them and join amongst ourselves. Notice I'm saying ourselves. I'm not talking about black people. I'm talking about black people who are on code. That's a different kind of black people. That's a harder
Okay.
kind of black people to get to. You understand? Because it means that we're focused, we're paying attention, and we know what needs to be done. You understand?
Okay.
We know what needs to be done. Get with these. Get closer to these. Get in the environment of these, and thus rear our family in such a condition.
Okay. I now there's three things that cross my mind. Three things that cross my mind. Uh, One is spiritual and the Israelites or the Hebrews, and I've been close to the Creator since I was 6 years old, and I'm 52. So when I act like I don't know to call them Hebrews or Israelites, I'm being facetious. They don't know either. So the utopia is a place where you're invited in because you're not a coon. You are a law follower. That's not in this world, but I've heard people talk as though men that look like you get to take your wife and your child and be a man and nobody bothers you. That is, I don't see that happening in the United States of America.
Mm.
So I don't know where it is. And if there was a place for only people that think like you to form a government and do the right thing, that's where I'm going to end up. But I might have to die first. You see what I'm saying? That might
Yes.
be the utopia we get, or when the kingdom comes back. I'm in San Francisco. There's probably one out of 20 people around here that I feel equally yoked with, and I haven't met them yet.
Here's the thing. What you said is very, 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 very weighty with truth. Okay. Many of us, for many of us, our real salvation, our ultimate salvation is going to be through death. That's the bottom line. Many of us will never see any type of bliss here whatsoever. You understand? And ultimately, this age of this level of existence is paradise isn't going to be found here. It's not going to be found at this stage. You understand? It's just the reality. Like I was saying in a conversation a day ago, you know, the real world is harsh and cold. As soon as the earth turns away from the sun, it gets very cold. You understand? If you get close to the sun, too close to the sun, it gets very hot. You understand? The extremes, no matter where you go, anytime you go outside of balance, you understand, you suffer. And that's the nature of this world. You understand? That's the nature of wherever you go. I mean, there's plants that if you just touch it the wrong way, it will kill you. You will suffer. There's
Right.
animals that if you touch them or get them amongst them the wrong way, they will kill you. This is telling you that the real world is not. It cares nothing about how you feel. It's not concerned with your opinions. It's not concerned with any of that. It will kill you. It will kill the intelligent person. It will kill the person who believes himself to be intelligent or righteous, and it'll kill the wicked. All the same. Welcome to planet Earth, right?
Right.
Okay, but there is a uh, um, there's a method to this madness. There's a method to this madness. See, sometimes you got to pay attention. We have to pay attention to what even our adversaries do. Because after all, they paid attention to what we've been doing for thousands of years. And look at the results. Okay. So, we have to up our game. What do I mean by that? See, we want instant results. We're conditioned to think that somehow we're going to get an instant result like a microwavable meal. Okay. That's not, that the solution's not going to come like that. In fact, what I'm saying is that body that nucleus that I was talking about, that cell, that unit, that the group of unified, uncanny, righteous individuals, that's just the nucleus. That's just a seed. The results of which tree we might not see for years to come. We might not see in our lifetime, but
Right.
I'm saying our descendants might not see for years to come. You have to think like that because that's how they think. This is stuff they've been planning for a long time ago. Before they even got up into Africa, they've been building and chopping that up long before they even got on the shores. You understand? They didn't just willy nilly go, oh, let's go over here to, what is this called? What the heck are they speaking? What do you call this? Nigeria? Oh, Ashanti Empire? What do you call it? It wasn't like that. They knew what they were doing. They knew the type of people they needed to get. Because you have to understand that's how business mind works. Any kind of investor puts their money in something that they believe will work and get results. So when you're showing up and you know that you've got some fresh land over here that you're kicking in the door in, and you know you need to build up something, you need to get the best ones to do it. You're not going to get some slouch, sleazy, weak, boned, sickly person, right?
Right.
Or someone that's an idiot. You're not going to drag it. Oh, come on, you over there. I know you don't know what the heck you're doing, but get on the boat anyway. No, you're going to get somebody that knows what. Oh, you all right? Wow, look at the museum you guys have built. Look at your artifacts over here. Look at these great monuments. Who did this? You get on the boat. You understand? Oh, you're
Right.
royalty? Get on the boat. Something like that. Selective. Okay? This is what built this country right here. And it didn't happen
The
overnight.
best of the best. Absolutely. They knew who they were taking. They weren't
Yeah.
gonna not get their money's worth.
It didn't happen overnight. This took years and years and years. When they put that Constitution, when they put the Bill of Rights, all this stuff, you think they weren't writing the Bill of Rights for that day? You understand? They were preparing things for their descendants. When they put any of these amendments, you name it, it wasn't. They weren't just doing. Well, today we just want this year we want to be treated such and such a way, so let's make an amendment for now. That's not how it worked. These are investors. These are people who are trying to get the best bang for the buck. You understand? I've got children. I've got seeds in need. So let me go ahead and set this up. So that way, when they show up on the scene, they can take this on to the next level. We have to think like this. Stop trying to get our pie and cake and eat it now. But let's get the ingredients together. We haven't even
And
got to the oven yet.
how is
Let's just get.
that going to work? How do you know that you have a sincere law keeper that will be safe when we come together and not a betrayer and
See,
not an abuser?
here's what I believe in answering that question, and I believe this adamantly. There are things that are within our capacity and things outside of our capacity, things that we can actually do. And then outside of that, the rest is in what I say is the hands of Allah, Yahweh. You understand? The rest is in divine hands. In other words, if the true amongst us, the real amongst us are moving in the direction that we need to be moving to, you understand? Then the elements that need to support our aim will fall into place. We will get the results that we're striving for. That's just the way. That's just the nature of things. And
What are we striving for?
well, okay, that that's the thing that a person has to reflect upon for themselves because each of us have different parts to play. For example, in my case, my struggle is to make sure that my personal family has the proper knowledge. You understand? To as they come up, that they can be able to survive on their own, mindful of the environment that they live in. You understand? Mindful of who they are. Mindful of They're kin. And by saying kin, I mean the black family. You understand? In general, mindful of, like I said, the harsh realities of the world. We don't teach any kind of Disneyland here. You understand? We don't. There's no Santa Claus that comes to town. So what I'm saying here is facts, the harsh truth. You say, yeah, Baba will give you a hug, but understand that there'll be people who won't, and there'll be people who will try to give you a hug that don't really mean hug. You
Why
understand?
are you still in America?
Well, because I returned. I,
You
I needed.
returned. Okay.
I returned. I actually was in Africa, to be
Oh,
honest with
okay.
you.
I didn't know that.
So my mistake was, if I could say I had a mistake, was my inability to understand the language of commerce in the country that I went to. And since I failed to learn the language of commerce properly, it put me in a very difficult. It put me at a disadvantage. So I had to come in and get some resources, some essential resources back here where the family resides.
Oh,
So
okay.
so I'm not. Here's the thing. When we hear about individuals talking about migrating there, I'm definitely in favor of that. You understand? And I definitely encourage that because I believe that you know as one person would put it, there's no place like home, right? There's no place like home. And that's where you restore yourself. That's where you can revitalize your energies. And like you just mentioned earlier, if these people went back to their countries, that's telling us that we know that each of us has a home front, has a place that we come from. And to think about that, it's just like anything in nature. When you go back to your source, you become revitalized. You gain your energies again. You gain you regain your strength. You understand? You regain your abilities. Anytime, I'm gonna say it like this. I don't know if you ever heard of a building called the Kaaba.
I'm
The
sorry.
Kaaba
Say
is
repeat
in
that.
Mecca, right? And the reason why I talk about this or even point it out is there's a rite called the Hajj, where people from all over the world migrate to Mecca to be in the presence of this Kaaba. Kaaba is a holy shrine. It's a house. You understand? But the thing is, the people aren't inside the house. They're outside the house. And if you look at the Kaaba, it's shaped much like a box. Okay? But the people, the godly people or God conscious people or the righteous people, are outside of the box. Now, I always say this when I talk about this. I say, well, inside the box there is a measure of security because you've got the protection of the structure. The thing is there's no growth.
Hmm.
Here's the other factor to consider is that when you leave this, you go back out into the world. You understand? This is synonymous when I leave my home for work. When I leave my home for work, I'm at I'm subjected to the elements. I'm subjected to whatever the world might bring my way. Ills, benefits, you name it. That's the nature of entering. That's the nature of going out into the world. Okay, but when I leave my home, my intent is not to partake in these ills or benefits. My intent is to go to my task, and from that, do what I need to do to extract my benefit. That's what my focus is. You understand? That's what my aim, my whole aim is that. Will I make it? That's another matter. Like I said, that's out me following my intended path, okay, is one thing. Outside of my powers, you understand? That's like I said would be in the hands in divine hands because my fate might be there. You understand? You understand my fate, my ultimate fate might be at any given time on the road, on the freeway, walking down the sidewalk, like we've seen. Brothers have met their fate in some of the most drastic ways. Okay, but the thing about the nature of a scholar, the nature of a warrior, is that's not our focus. Our focus is not whether or not today I'm going to die. My focus is today I'm going to work. I've got family. I've got seeds in need, so I'm going to work with the intention of coming back home to present the fruits of my labor. Right? That what I'm telling you is in a personal level. remedy for us as a community. We've got to stay focused on what we're here to do. You got to stop thinking about what is it going to rain. If you're fearful that it's going to rain, put on a coat. If you think a dog's going to bite, get something that deals with the dog. If you think somebody's going to put their knee on your neck, make sure you come correct. Understand?
Yes, and let me say before I get off, please don't let me leave here without saying something about this picture we're looking at. But so I told you my mom was born a sharecropper. I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the roughest place in the country, and I was raised in a lily white suburb. I'm going to make my point. Both of my parents, starting with my father, uh, went to a lily white suburb. He's on his third set of children living in a suburb across. The last set lived across from Alki Beach, which is and now they're back in Bellevue. They did that to make sure that my childhood looked different than theirs,
Mm,
and so I was raised, did my adolescence around white people. I was 4 years as a white girl loving, I'm a female, coon sellout. That's what I called them. And I said, back in the 80s, you wouldn't have called me that. You would have called me an Oreo. If
mm,
everything I've ever done and been, I regret being an Oreo more than anything in the world. And that was in the 1985 when Compton was selling crack and listening to hip hop. I was listening to alternative rock in Bellevue, Washington. That was the most regrettable experience in my life as I would become an adult and really regret being a black white supremacist. I was really
mm,
into white folks. So your daughter is gonna might I don't want to speak about anybody's children, but if your daughter or somebody else's daughter says, I had the greatest black father in the world, straight man, loved my mother who's darker than a paper bag, and he loves me and he was very strong, but she's subjected to hell being in America. That's what she has to look forward to. So
mm.
you her she's around people that are going to abuse her. I'm 52 years old and I don't have any children. I raised a younger sibling, and I that's all they're good for is abusing uh, black people. And then
Mhm.
you grow up to realize the next one that calls me a nigger in my face, I can't spit at them because they're going to put their hands on me, and I don't carry a gun. I'm
Mm,
walking around hoping that no one treats me the way that they want to treat me based
mhm.
upon the color of my skin. There's a lot of people that hate blacks.
You're
I
right.
don't know if Africa is better than America, but there's not a lot of people that hate blacks in Africa. So I wanted to
Right.
ask you that. But I'm gonna sign off. This has been good. But I wanted you to know I was looking at that picture with that silky smooth skin. You know that's not me you're talking to, right? That's a moniker.
Mhm.
That's a that's an Tanzanian or Ethiopian man. Because I
Yes.
was like,
Yes.
they're thinking that thing that he's speaking to has a low voice and it's a woman. What the hell is he looking at? That's an ugly
Well,
woman.
I
That's
dig it. I
not me.
definitely understand the I understand the intent. I definitely understand the intent, so it's no problem with me. What I could tell you as you head out, sister, is that just like the picture behind me, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You understand? There's definitely that's one thing I can definitely drive, man, is that there's light at the end of the tunnel. I would tell you and advise you not to regret your past because your past has cultivated the person that you become today. You had to go through those things in order to be able to have the mindset you have right now. And this is just
Amen.
one stage preparing you for another stage.
Got you. I don't regret the past. I just wish I hadn't been someone that liked white people as much as I like my own people.
Yes,
And I
indeed.
write because I know they're wicked, and a lot of them are wicked, and I don't have the heart to condone that white supremacy stuff. But it's always nice talking to you. I'll figure out how to get this echo thing figured out, and I'll join you soon
Yes,
in
indeed.
the future.
Peace and blessings.
Shalom.
Shalom. Yes, indeed, family. That was definitely a very beautiful conversation had there. I'm hoping that you know, some bites of light, trickle down into the hearts and minds of the viewers. we do have a little bit more time before I'm ready to sign off. So I do want to put out there that the link is still there for this live. If anybody would desire to entertain, um, clicking that link and joining this live. Otherwise, all other viewers, make sure you have clicked like on this video, on this live. Making sure you've clicked like and that you are a subscriber and all the, all the little elements there. You understand? As that, I believe, based upon the way this system works, it helps in some way. But the way that I'm desiring to help is that this is able to be, something that, viewers and listeners can, benefit from. You understand? That they can benefit from amongst our ranks, amongst our people. Um, I believe that when you dig into conversations like these, that somehow, um, virtue, wisdom can be extracted because it causes us, cognitively to really uh, look and ponder and reflect in a way that we might not always have the opportunity to do as we're going about our day. You understand? We're all seeing the things going on in the world. We're seeing the things that go down, and there's so many people that have so many questions about um, how to deal with this in the most wise way. You understand? It's easy for us to jump out, lash out. There's so much rage that many of us have within us. So many parts, so many aspects of us that really want to erupt. You understand, like a volcano. But the lesson, if ever there was a lesson that our people are being taught in our time, is that we have to exercise great tact, great wisdom. You understand, and we definitely realize that we need to increase in knowledge. You understand? That's really the bottom line. Many of us are so light. Our scales of knowledge are so our weights of knowledge are so light because we've taken on a lot of assumptions. You understand? Like even the sister said, we've had certain perceptions about our adversary that caused us to be numb regarding the reality of these ones. You understand? And we've treated, you know, foes as if they were friends. And this has really, really cost us a great deal. It's really, really cost us, family. So the damage has been done. The pain that we feel when we can't speak our mother tongue, the damage has been done. The pain that we feel when we can't dance the dance of our culture, when we can't, remember our father's ancestral name, any of that. The damage has been done. So what does it all mean? Where do we go from here? Anybody else care to break bread? The link is there. I'm pretty sure that I mean, the people that tap into this live on Soul Journey of Life, they tend to be some insightful individuals. You understand that end up coming on board to break bread with the family. So the link is out there. I'm gonna hang around for a little longer. My hope is that we can continue building. I think we really need to build on the matter at hand. Like I said, this is stemming off of in light of the events that have taken place. You understand? Like I said, I'm watching events occur. 17-year-old uh, individual of from amongst the what some call Caucasians or whites being cleared of all charges, and the common understanding that any of us that are paying attention would have is that if that was a 17-year old one of us, we know clearly, and everything being the same, all events being the same, all events playing out the same, we know what the outcome would be. A constant reminder, a constant reminder of the world we're actually living in. It's not an illusion. It's not an illusion. You understand? Understand what it means to live in the land of the beast. You understand? Understand that these uh, proverbial passages, these revelationary passages, these quotes of ancient scripts, they're not vain. You may not understand some of them, but they're not in vain. You understand? You have to understand what it takes for wise ones to be inspired with divine insight, so that when they speak, their words carry a lot of weight. When insightful ones, when great sages speak, out their mouth comes so much radiance. You understand? So we have to take the time out to reflect again. Like I said, this is a situation where the droplets of water have to start to consolidate. You know what happens after a while when enough water starts to consolidate? It becomes a puddle, and then over time it becomes an ocean. And from oceans come your hurricanes, come your tsunamis, and all kinds of natural disasters that's capable of really changing the face, of the environment. We need to bring our drops together. Like I said, this is only a conversation for those that are concerned, for those that this is about. I don't expect this to be, something that, this isn't a call for all. You understand? This is not a call for all. Yes, indeed. So this is a call for those, the Messiah Yeshua, Isa, as we say, in the Quran. um, he used to say, according to biblical texts, those who have an ear to hear, let them hear. And he's talking about that which the spirit, the divine spirit communicates. He's talking about those who are alert, those who know. You understand? Those who know. If you hip to what's going on, if you understand, you understand. So in one sense, this isn't a teaching class here. This is just a reminder. This is all about keeping us fresh, keeping our minds remembering what we're doing. Why are we even having this conversation? You understand? That's what this is, to keep it fresh, to keep in memory those who were standing up. You understand? To keep driving this in our domes. Because it's easy to tap out. It's easy to get lazy again. It's easy to fall back and pretend, get back into your illusionary land and pretend like nothing's going on. It's also easy to despair and consider it all a loss, consider it all a failure, consider it hopeless. It's easy to do these things. It's a lot more challenging, family, to stand up. It's a lot more challenging to be brave. It's a lot more challenging, you understand, to stay on code. And clearly, it's a lot more challenging to unify and be amongst those of like mind. You understand? It's a lot more challenging. So we got a few minutes left. So, the link is there. We can entertain perhaps one more conversation with an invite. Click the link, come on board. Let's talk about it. What does it all mean? What does it all mean when when we're in a time where, racism has manifested itself in a way where it's no longer disguised. See, our ancestors had to deal with, just like the sister said, our ancestors had to deal with it right in their face. You understand? It wasn't hidden. Nobody was biting their tongue. Then we reached the time where they started to disguise it in different formulas, different political rhetoric. But now we're they're restoring that very straightforward language all over again. It's almost like they want to see if the children of our ancestors, what are we made of? What kind of people are these? Are we like our ancestors? You understand? And that's not saying anything less about our ancestors, because our ancestors, I believe, were very, very, very strong. Because one thing they didn't do is forget about where they came from. You understand? One thing they kept on trying to do was resist and make sure and fight being enslaved. So what happened to their children? What happened to their descendants? What made us so comfortable? Are we that draped off by the basketball and the football? Are we that draped off by all these little niceties that we really think that things are sweet now? Just asking. I'm just asking, what does it all mean? But like I said, there's light at the end of the tunnel. But what if I were to tell you that that tunnel, that light, it doesn't continue here on this planet. It doesn't continue here in this life. That light, it might not be an appealing uh, um you know outcome that we're looking for. The solution that many of us are hoping for, it might not come that way for many of us. It might not come that way. For me, I'm one of those who believe that the ink of the scholar is more sacred than the blood of the martyr. But the thing even about a scholar is that the moment the adversary gets wind of him, the adversary hunts them down like a hawk, because they know the power of the ink of the scholar. You understand? They know when these intelligent ones rise up and stand up, they know they got their hands full then. Because the minute the ink comes, the minute the words of a scholarly minded person gets out there, it has the potential to spread like wildfire. You understand? And enlighten many. So what does it all mean? What does it all mean, family? Got a few more minutes for any would-be viewers to come on in. And I'm the thing. Let me say it this way too, because you may not agree. If you don't, if you have a disagreement, let's hear it. Because the thing is, maybe some of us are wrong with our perspective. Maybe we're off somehow, or maybe there's a stone unturned that we didn't look behind. Maybe there's a page we're missing, a lesson unlearned. But how are we going to know if you don't hop on board and break bread with a family? Did we get something wrong? When we come to want to stand up, for self determination, for equality. Did we get something wrong if we have dreams of unification, of a kind of um, bliss that comes from being amongst our own, loving one another? Did we get something wrong there? If we did, just come on in and break bread. You understand? It doesn't make any sense for people to open up these lives and have hour-long talks about you know dumping and hating on one another, when all they have to do is invite each other to their lives and break bread and chop it up in an intelligent way. Put out the differences, put out the grievances in an intelligent way, a respectful way. You understand? That's the proper way. That's the way the scholarly ones amongst us will go about doing things. I've seen some profound debates. But one thing I always admired out of the debates that I've got to see was the respect that each person had for each other, even though they were down each other's necks with differences. When it was all said and done, they were still able to respect each other and go their ways. So, I mean, I can only speak, from the perspective that I see. And what do I know? I wear glasses. They get dirty. They get cloudy. Maybe I might be seeing. My vision might be hindered in some way. Might be clouded a bit. You understand? That's why often If it does get like that, I have to consult the heart to kind of validate, see if what I'm saying is valid, or see if what I'm observing is valid. See if the sound bites that go through my ears, is it valid? Is it adding up? Is the math right and proper, right and exact, or is there something off? Many of us, we take our sound bites, we take what we hear and see, and without really further, analyzing it for clarity purpose, we just jump and go. Off we go. Somebody said something. Oh, there's somebody just took the money and ran. No validity. Just heard a sound bite and they run with it. Off they go. Off to the races. You can't be like that, family. That's what the light dome is all about, right here. Keep it on. Keep the light on. Like the Motel 6 commercials. We'll keep the light on for you. We'll keep the light on for you. I'm just trying to keep the light on for you. That's all I'm saying. I'm just trying to, talk about the things that keep us thinking about what we're going through. It's our reality. Many of us want to act like these things aren't existing, like this is just not happening. And then they go dive into the fiction. They'll believe in a Star Wars movie before they believe in systematic racism. You understand? How does that work? Go figure, right? How does that work? So family, I've got family, and I've got to get back to my family. But I definitely want to make sure that I'm doing my part. You know, some people say back in the day, "Oh, you brother, you got to gift the gab." So I ended up inheriting the responsibilities of a spiritual leader. Um, I don't wear that I don't wear that like a badge or anything like that. But these are things that I've gone through in my life. Um, for present, I just like to say I'm your brother. No titles, no dun 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 dun. I am this person. Nothing like that. The only thing I do that with is Quest Man because it's fun, right? Because it has a lyrical legacy with it. You understand? And to me, there's a lot of culture, a lot of personal culture behind that. But the only capital letters I got is in my name. You understand? That's it. No, 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 no big. I don't really even want any big titles. I just like being your brother. I just like being your brother, and standing up, um, and speaking. The things that my heart suggests really need to be talked about. Really need to be said. You understand? In a time where the lines are being drawn. You got some people who are really afraid. You got some people who don't like us talking about this. They think that us talking about this will cause them more danger. They'll get more mistreatment by the racist supremacists and whatnot. They'll get more. The thing is, there's a saying that we have. An expression. That if 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 you were to die, if you were destined to die in any given day, you will die right exactly in the place that you were destined to die. If you were to get on a plane and death was at the other end of the plane, there's no way you can get back on the plane and avoid death. Your 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 end, your death is inevitable. So the fears that many of us have are not entirely warranted. You understand? The thing is that that's different than the type of fear that like the natural world has. When a deer um has fear, they will do whatever they can to flee. Like an animal, they'll flee and run away or whatever, do whatever they can. If they can't do that, they'll try to fight you off. And if they can't do that, you understand, then they give themselves to fate. You watch an animal just sit there like, I guess it's time for me to go. Let's go, right? But when the people won't even stand up, what's going on inside? You understand? We won't even stand up when we won't even go and support one another in these times of difficulty when we know it's the right thing to do. What's going on inside? What's going on in their minds? You understand? What are you holding on to? You're not going to have it that long anyway. What are you holding on to? Nothing's really yours here anyway. What's yours here? So why not stand up for something that's worth something? Why not at least use some of your life energy for something that makes your presence on this earth worthwhile? You understand? That's why I keep asking, if you looked at this on a cosmic level, has your existence been a worthy existence? Or did you just take and take and take from the world? Did you just take from, you know, the the excitements of this life? Is that all you did? Can you imagine here you are on a planet that's been around for billions of years? Here you show up in your little tiny lifespan, and all you did was eat, drink, and sleep. And then when you bite the dust, you have nothing to show for it. Nothing. You ain't done nothing that moved nothing. You ain't move a stone. You ain't, you know, laid a block. You ain't, wrote a single letter. Nothing. Nothing that amounts to anything that that puts a dent in the world because of your presence. What a waste. What a waste of time and space. You understand? What a waste of time and space. Millions of sperm fighting to get into one egg just to manifest you. Then you show up here only just to waste time and space. Just saying, what does it all mean? What does it all mean, family? You know, we read about happy endings in some of these fairy tale stories. But what about our ending? What kind of ending will it be? This is no fairy tale story. This is real life. Hard, hard, cold truth. Millions of sperm fighting to get into one egg. And the only one that was able to succeed was the one that was you. The only one that was able to get out of my way. The only one that was able to succeed and get out that tunnel was you. Now here you are, seeing yourself amongst the ranks of others just like you. But while you see this, you see suffering happening to ones just like you. You see oppression happening to ones that look just like you. You see tyranny happening upon ones that look just like you. So what does it mean? Just some things to think about, you know? We can talk all day about these type of things, but the bottom line is what resolve are you prepared to manifest in this life? What difference are you prepared to make? And what resources, what intellectual resources, what energy, what actions, what are you willing to commit? What types of self-sacrifices are you willing to put forth to make a difference in what you say you stand for? Or are we just spectators? Maybe we're just spectators. We're just watching from the sideline, just watching it all go down. You know, there's clear solutions, family, but I don't think that many of us are willing to dig into that. Too many scared folks around here. Too many scared folks. And like I said, I think our greatest solution is within our own fold, is amongst our own people. It's not external. It's not external. It's not going to come because the Chinese do something. It's not going to come because the Russians do something. It's not going to come because the U.S. does something. That's not where our salvation is going to be from. These aren't our saviors. China's not our savior. Russia's not our savior. Our saving and savior is going to come from amongst ourselves. Is coming from amongst ourselves. Has come amongst ourselves. So you could look in the ground, you could look in the sky, you could look to the right, to the left. Try looking at your own reflection. Try looking in the mirror for a chance. Because right there is both your obstacle and your salvation. You pick, you choose. It's one or the others. It could be your obstacle, your hindrance, and your salvation, and your key to success. You understand? With that said, dear family, this is your brother Abdul Wadud, aka Questman of Soul Journey of Life, the Light Dome. And so next time, like I said, I hold on to my optimism that those that are to be unified will be unified, and that we will have our measure of success. You understand? It may not be the success that the ignorant ones perceive to be a success, but it'll be success. Because every day, every step closer to uh, you know striving for our solution is a step towards success. It's a step towards salvation. It's a step towards victory. We'll get it. We'll get it. Um, stay on code, family. Just stay on code. There's a shout out being passed around all over us now. Be one. Be one. You understand? That's the code. That's the general code that's going across the community right now. Be one. That type of call out is the just be black call out is the thing that's building a line between the real and the artificial. What side of that line are you on? You understand? Remember, even Yeshua drew a line between the righteous and the hypocrisy. What side of the line are you on? What side of the line you on? I'm just asking, family. Just questions. I'm just asking questions. What do I know? What do I know? This is your brother Questman. Salam alaikum, shalom, hotep, and peace be with you. Have a blessed night. Look to your right and left for your family members. Give them a nice hug and let them know that you love them and you got their back. You understand? Let them know you got their back. Okay. Mm.